Hello and welcome to another video. This is the first of two parts where I will cover how to create step by step a wildfire risk map. This map is made up of several elements that can be divided as follows. A wildfire risk map is composed between the combination of a hazard map and a potential damage map, which are then created by joining two other maps. Probability and susceptibility in the case of the wildfire hazard map, and vulnerability and economic value in the case of the potential damage map. After the hazard wildfire map and potential damage map are made, we can then create a wildfire risk map. So in this video, we'll start by learning how to create an hazard wildfire map, and in part 2, how to create a potential damage and a wildfire risk map. Without further ado, let's get to the video. Okay, to start this project, let's see the type of data that we are going to use. So right here I have the DEM, land use and land cover, the study area and wildfires from 2009 to 2020. Let's start by adding the areas of wildfires. So to do this you need to have a shapefile for each one of the years that you are going to analyze. So let's click on Shift and add them all to the map. And now let's add the study area that we are going to analyze. So in this case we are going to analyze wildfires in Vila Nova de Gaia in Portugal. I will start by changing the symbology of VNG. So firstly I will change the outline color to red and remove the color. Let's click on apply like this. An important thing when working with rasters is actually creating a mask. So to do this you go to Analysis, click on More Tools. In this case I will choose Polygon to Raster. And I will drag and drop our study area to the input features. For the value field you don't need to change, but I will change to municipality in my case. I will choose a folder to save the mask. I will maybe right here on study area and I will call it, for example, VNG_mask. And I will just change the cell size to 10 for the mask and actually for the entire project. Let's choose the coordinate system. For the extent will be the study area shapefile, and let's click on Run. And our mask is created. Let's check the result. Let's click on symbology and invert the values, and as you can see we have our mask right here in black. We actually can see the size of the pixel and is 10 meters as we choose on the cell size. I will drag and drop our mask to the bottom and hide it for now. The next step is changing the burned areas of Vila Nova de Gaia to raster. So let's actually change all these shapefiles into several rasters. Let's start maybe from 2009. Let's go to Analysis, More Tools, and search for Feature to Raster. Drag and drop the shapefile into the input features. For the field, choose a field that has the same value for each row. For example, right here, as you can see, we have this field and the here field with the same values. If you don't have any field with the same values, you just create one and give the same value to each row. Now let's select the output for this raster. I will save it right here on wildfires and I will call it maybe, for example, wildfires_2009. Let's click save. Cell size needs to be 10 once again. Let's select the coordinate system. For the extent will be VNG. Snap raster the mask, and now let's click on Run. If I drag and drop our new raster to the top, you can see that our burn areas are now in black. Now we just need to repeat this process to each one of the burn areas shapefile. To do this, just repeat the process and change the name to the year and click on Run, and you don't need to change anything on the environments. Okay? Repeat now for the 2011, click on Run, and just repeat this process for each one of the years that you have. It's a little time consuming, but it's actually necessary. Now let's do this for the last year, 2020. And just remove all the shapefiles because we are not going to use it anymore in this project. As you can see, we have the same values, but now in raster. Next step is search for Reclassify, and what we are going to do is changing the values of the burn areas to the number 1 and areas with no fires with the value 0. Okay? To do this, just drag and drop each one of the years to the input raster. For the value field, choose value, or for the reclass field, choose value. Values with number 1 will be 1, and value with no data will be 0. Let's select the output and give it a name. Let's call it, for example, wildfires _ and then the year. Let's click on Save. For the environments, you do the same process, extend VNG, and for the mask and snap raster, you choose the mask. And click on Run. As a result, as you can see, now we have in green values with 0 or no burned areas and values with 1 for the burned areas in 2009. Now let's repeat the process for 2010. Don't forget always to click on Unique to update the year and do the same process. So the no data, change it to the value 0. Just change the output name and click on Run, and do the same process for each one of the rasters. I will just fast forward this process because it's the same for each one of the rasters. Be aware that you need to always click on Unique to update the values, and to finish, let's repeat the process to the 2020, and let's move to the next step of this tutorial. Now that you have all the reclassifications made, let's remove the rasters that we are not going to use anymore. Now let's aggregate all these rasters into one single raster. So to do this, search for Raster Calculator, and what we are going to do is to sum all these rasters into one. So to do this, you just click or double click into the year you want. You click on the plus sign, and then you do the sum of each one of the elements that you reclassified earlier, okay? Like this. You just double click on the year and double click on the plus operator. For the environments, you do the same process. For the mask, and for the snap raster, the mask as well. And choose your output and a name for the raster calculator raster. We'll call it Sum Wildfires VNG and click on Save. Let's click on Run. And there we have our result. We can remove those rasters, and as you can see, we have our raster calculator. So areas with 0 were never burned. In yellow, areas that burned once. In blue, areas that burned 2 times from 2009 and 2020. And in red, areas that burned 3 times. Finally, to create a probability map or a probability of wildfires in Vila Nova de Gaia, you do the next expression. So it will be sum, then you multiply by 100 and divide it by 10. So VNG sum underscore wildfires VNG, you multiply by 100 and then divide by 10. For the environments, you just do the same process you did before. So for the extent will be the shapefile VNG, and for the mask and snap raster will be the VNG underscore mask. And then you just give a name to the new map. I will call it EQ underscore sum wildfires VNG. Let's click Save, and now let's click on Run. Now let's change the symbology of this map, clicking on Symbology, change this to discrete, actually not on discrete but on Classify, and as you can see we have our probability. So in yellow, values of 0 probability, in this orange 10 probability, 20 probability right here, and in dark red 30 probability. To complete the wildfire probability map, and so that all areas that burned only once are equal to those that never burned, avoiding non-recurring phenomena that could have been fortuitous, I will give the value number 1 to areas that burned once and areas that never burned. So I will change this 1 to the number 1, 10 to 20, I will give it 20, and 20 to 30, I will give 30. Let's change the environments once again. And choose your output and the name for your final probability map. And I will call it prob underscore wildfires underscore VNG. And I will click on Save. Now let's hit on the Run button, and there we have our final probability map. And as you can see right here, for example, values of 30 and 20, and areas that only burned once or never burned were reclassified to the value number 1. Let's drag and drop this to the bottom of our layers, and now we will start by doing the map of susceptibility to wildfires. To do this type of map, you just need 2 types of data. The first one will be the DEM. So I have it right here in this folder. I will import it to the project. If you don't know how to create a DEM or how to download a DEM, I already have a video on my YouTube channel teaching you how to do this type of process. And for the second type of data that we are going to use for the susceptibility map will be the land use and land cover. Okay, so the first step is creating a slope map. So to do this, you just go to Analysis, Create on More Tools, and search for slope. Drag and drop the DEM into the input raster. Choose the output folder and give a name to the slope. I'll call it slope_VNG. This needs to be on degrees, and just change the environments once again. Now click on Run. And after the slope map is done, we need to reclassify the values, as I will show you right now. So search for the Reclassify tool. Drag and drop the slope to the input raster. Click on Classify. The method change to natural breaks and change the classes to 5. And change the method once again to manual interval. And now you just click right here and choose 5, 10, 15, and right here 20. So these are the values that I'm going to use to represent the slopes. Let's click on OK. And now let's change the values from 0 to 5. Now will be 2, 5 to 10, number 3, 10 to 15, 4, 15 to 20, 5, and slopes higher than 20 degrees will be reclassified to the number 6. Let's save it right here on the DEM. I will just call it r_slope_VNG. For the extent, we just choose the VNG, and for the mask and snap raster, VNG_mask. Let's check if everything is okay. No, right here is number 6, and all the other values seems correct. Let's click on Run. There we have our reclassified map. Let's remove the first slope, and actually let's change these values so we can see the variations of degrees in our study area. Okay. So as you can see, on the reds near the river are the higher slopes, and near the beach the lower slopes. Since we finished our slope map, we can remove the DM from our project because we are not going to use it anymore. So just click on Remove. And now let's work on the land use and land cover shapefile. Let's move this to the top. Actually, let's go to Symbology, change this to unique values, and let's represent this field right here. And as you can see, we have a bunch of different types of land use and land cover. And if we open this attribute table, you can see that every land use and land cover is aggregated to a different type of terrain. So if we change this to the number 1 legend, we see that we have agriculture, artificialized territories, forests, pastures, uncovered spaces, water bodies, and woods. Obviously, different land use and land cover types will influence wildfires differently. So let's click on Add Field, and right here we will create a field called Susceptibility class, and each one of the land use and land cover will have a different type or a different class of susceptibility to wildfires. The data type will be double. Now let's click on Save. And to help us on this project, I have an Excel that will help us giving different susceptibility classes to each one of the land use and land cover types. Okay. Just a quick reminder that this data and this Excel will be on the description below, okay? Let's open this Excel. Let's place it right here on the right. And as you can see, we have a susceptibility class from 0 to 4 for each one of the land use and land cover types. If we take a closer look to the Excel file, we can see that the artificialized territories have a susceptibility class of 0, which makes sense because the wildfires only starts on vegetation. Since the default value of the susceptibility class in our attribute table is 0, we don't need to add the number 0, so we will already put a check mark in all the values with the 0 susceptibility class, okay? Let's start by adding the susceptibility class to the temporary rain-fed and irrigated crops, to the vineyards and to the orchards. So to do this, go to select by attributes, you select the field and you say that is equal, and you start by typing the land use and land cover that you want, and ArcGIS Pro will do the rest. Click on add clause, or select once again the field is equal to vineyards, and to finish, add clause once again, or is equal to orchards, and click on apply. Now right click on susceptibility class, calculate field, and choose the number 2 and click on apply or OK. And there we have our susceptibility class of 2 to these 3 types of land use and land cover. Let's clear the selection. Go to select by attributes once again. Let's change the first one to cultural mosaics. Let's try to find it. Now let's change the second one to improved pastures. And the last one to the spontaneous pastures. Okay. And let's change the value from 0 to the value number 3. Like this. Let's place a check mark on these 3 land use and land cover types. And now let's move to the susceptibility class number 4. Okay. We can start from the forest, since all the values have a susceptibility class of 4, which makes a lot of sense. So let's go to select by attributes, let's clear those 2. Let's change these to the number 1 and say that is equal to the forests. Click on OK. Right click on the susceptibility class, calculate field, and change this from 3 to 4. Okay. Check mark these ones, and you do the same process for the woods. Clear the selection, go to select by attributes, and change it from forests to woods. Click on OK. Go to calculate field, and click on OK. Place a check mark right here. And to finish, let's do the same process for the agriculture with natural and semi-natural spaces, and for the protected agriculture and nurseries. Just search for this one, add clause, change this to OR, and now search for the protected agriculture and nurseries. Go to calculate field, click on OK, and place the final check marks as well. Okay, now we can close the Excel file. I will not save it. Let's maximize our project. Let's clear the selection. and let's change the symbology to represent the susceptibility class that we created, okay? And now the next step is to convert this shapefile into a raster file. So, as you already know, go to Analysis, go to More Tools, and search for Feature to Raster. Drag and drop the land use and land cover to the input features. The field will be the susceptibility class. Let's select the folder and give a name to this new raster. We can call it, for example, lolc_s_vng. Cell size will be 10 once again. It needs to be always 10 in this case. VNG, snap raster mask, and let's click on run. Okay, now we have our land use and land cover, but on a raster file. And what we are going to do now is to create a susceptibility map. So to do that, go to Analysis once again, and just type for Raster Calculator. To do a susceptibility map, in this case, we just need to multiply the land use and land cover with the slope. So just double click on the slope, then double click on the multiply operator, and double click on the land use and land cover. On the environments, we do the same process, like this, and we are going to select the output. I will save it right here, and I will call it, for example, susceptibility_wf_vng. Let's click on run, and there we have our susceptibility map. Let's remove the land use and land cover and the slopes, and let's move this to the top. As I show you in the introduction to this video, to do an wildfire hazard map, we need to multiply the probability with the susceptibility. So to do this is super easy. We just go to the raster calculator once again, right here, double click on the probability, and you multiply the probability with, not like this, but right here with the susceptibility. Okay, just change the environments once again. Let's select the mask right here and right here, and let's save this on our folder. And I will call it, for example, probability_susceptibility_vng. So in the future I know that these are the joins of two maps. Okay, there we have our hazard wildfire map. And the last thing we need to do is to reclassify this map. So to do this, go to Analysis once again. Let's search for Reclassify. Let's drag and drop our new map to the input raster. Right here, just click on Classify. This hazard wildfire map will be represented in 5 classes using the quantile method. So in this case, this will be the classes, but in this case we don't want to represent the classes with the value 0 with low susceptibility. So in this case, the classes or the areas with the number 0 will have no data. Okay. What I will do is to open a notebook to help me writing these values. So I'll just search for it on my computer. and I will just copy these values to this page. Okay, so the numbers 0, 8, 10, 12 and 600, like this. This is just so I don't forget the values. Okay, now we need to change these to 6 classes. Go to manual interval, and since the first value after 0 is the number 4, we just type 4 right here. Okay, and then 8, 10, 12 and 600, and all the numbers are correct. Okay, so let's just click on OK. And let's change this value to no data, so all the areas with the number 0 will not be represented. Okay. Now the values from 0 to 4 will be the class 1, 4 to 8 class 2, 8 to 10 3, 10 to 12 4, and 12 to 600 the class number 5. Let's change once again our environments like this, and we are almost done with the first part of this tutorial. I will save this map right here, and I will call it, for example, danger underscore WF underscore VNG, and let's type here an R of reclassification. Now let's click on save, and then click on OK. The name is too big. This is a common problem, so let's remove some letters. So RD, okay. Let's click on run. There we go. Our final map of this part of this tutorial. Let's just remove this one, and let's change the symbology of our hazard classes. So the first one will be very low, number 2 low, this one will be medium, number 4 will be the class high, and the higher class will be very high. And now let's just change the colors as well. So the number 1 a darker green, for the 2 let's choose this green, number 3 yellow, high class with the orange, and the last one with the red. And there we have our final hazard wildfire map. I hope you liked the first part of this tutorial, and in the second part we will then cover the steps to create the potential damage map and finally the wildfire risk map. Thank you for watching. If you like this type of content, don't forget to like, subscribe and comment what you want to learn next.